Do you know the 14 traits of successful chiropractors? We've interviewed some of the top chiropractors in the industry and have identified the common traits that they all share. Jump on over to www.chirobusinessmojo.com to get your free report today.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Hello, I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo podcast. Thanks again for spending some of your time with me here today. While I don't want to spend too much time with the pre-show blah, 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 I just want to get right into it. This is part 2 with Dr. Arno Burnier. Well, I appreciate where you're going with the conversation because this is the reality and these things do need to be addressed and people do need to look within themselves. And I like what you're saying in terms of you have to get right with yourself. It's not about the beautiful website and the beautiful practice. It really begins with who you are as an authentic person. And the law of attraction, the way that works, it's absolutely true. And I think maybe it doesn't instantly translate into financial success, but over time, if you're coming from the right place, doing the right things, you'll start to see that financial piece take shape.
Exactly. And I think we have put way too much emphasis in the last 20 years on the financial reward. I don't know if you know that, but in Germany, people that want to become chiropractor cannot go to a chiropractic college. They go through what is called a chiropractic master program. And this master program is 1 weekend a month for 4 years. Something like this. It varies. There is a number of master program. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that are in there are MDs, DOs, physical therapists, and what would be called in German health practitioner, which is a generalized term. They have a completely surrender medicine, osteopathy and PT. Only thing they want to do is chiropractic. But when I talk to them, they say, those chiropractors, they think they're better than us because they graduated from Life University or from Parker University or from Davenport, Iowa, Palmer College. But when I go to seminars to better myself in the United States, all they talk about is money and numbers. That's all they care about. We don't come from that place. We care about people. And I tell you, that was an awakening because that is a reality. We have created a profession and a marketing and a practice management mill that is all designed, make money, make money, make money, make money. That's not success. And I'm going to give you my definition of success. My definition of success is the number of lives that you help transform and elevate to a new level while accumulating inner wealth and outer wealth. That's my definition of success. I see people that make a lot of money. They're not successful to me in chiropractic. And I see people that see a lot of people and don't make much money. They are not successful either. Because it's a quack, 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 bing, bing, out. Box on the wall. Oh yeah, I saw 1,000 people a week. Who cares? Those people are not being changed. They're not being transformed. They're not elevating their consciousness. To them, the chiropractors, for like $5 in their box on the wall or $10 is just a fix for their backache, and they'll come back the next time they have another backache. Mm-hmm. So, that is the biggest consideration that I have with the whole profession today. And I know that I'm older, and I've been into the profession a long time. But when you get older, you have a different perspective. You look at the entire umbrella. You are not, on a pinpoint dot on Google Map. You look at the entire landscape of the profession. And that's what I see is the biggest challenge we have is people that have lost the passion, the vocation, the calling. It's a business to them. And when it comes to human being, it can't be a business. The business has to be in the back office. It's a byproduct of what you do, not on the front end.
Well, I love your definition of success. I think that's a good one to live by and to emulate. Let me shift and talk about successes and failures. We learn so much from our successes, but we oftentimes learn more from our failures and our challenges and obstacles we've overcome in our lives. Can you share with us something that you've overcome in your life and the lessons you learned?
Yeah. When I graduated from Chiropractic College, Sherman College of Chiropractic in 1973, I graduated and I had no idea that in America, graduation is a big deal and you invite your family and all this. Because in France, you graduate, you go home, and 4 weeks later, a month later, you receive a paper in the mail. So we don't have those elaborate, amazing high school and college graduation. So I find myself in the parking lot of Sherman College with everybody gone, and I was there with my car and myself since my family was in Europe. And I went like, what do I do now? Where do I belong? This is a big country. Where do I go practice? So I went back to Hilton Head Island because I had been there before. It's not far from Sherman College. It's about a 4-hour drive. And I went back there and started working in a restaurant at night while adjusting people in the morning and early afternoon in the condominiums that I rented. And I don't know if you know the history of this, but South Carolina, the Chiropractic Board of South Carolina, or the South Carolina Chiropractic Board, at the time when I graduated in 1977, did not recognize Sherman College. I felt that was wrong. So I made a decision to get very well known in my community and openly practice without a license in the hope of being arrested, having the support of the community, and expose the political situation in South Carolina. My deepest motivation, I didn't realize it was a very noble motivation. It was a noble way of wanting to do it. But when I looked deeper as to what was really motivating me, it was anger and ego. I'm going to prove them wrong. I was angry. As a result, and I don't want to give you a lot of the detail, but there was many different things that took place, and I ended up having a total and complete nervous breakdown where I was catatonic, agoraphobic, and nonverbal. Agoraphobic means as soon as you leave a room, you feel lost. You have to go back to the cocoon. And catatonic is you are in a catatonic state, and nonverbal, you're not talking, you're not communicating. And I went through this process and lost everything, not that I had much, but lost everything, and it took 9 months. And when I finally came out of that process, I had zero. I had $5 in my pocket and a carry-on suitcase. I had dumped all of my green books, all of my osteological collection, all of my chiropractic books, everything in a dumpster. Because in that state of being, as I was coming back up, anything was too much. So I started from zero. And when I say zero, I mean I didn't have a car, I didn't have a fork, I didn't have a blender, I didn't have a blanket, I didn't have a home. I started from zero. But I know, having done that, having overcome that there is no place that life can take me where I don't have the capacity to come back. And I also know that anyone can make it in chiropractic if they are willing to do the work, if they are willing to really go for it and fuel their passion, leave their ego behind, and have a motivation that is deep within to serve and help others. And I don't want that to be misheard by the people on this call. It means you give away your service. No. There is a value attached to the service. And that is important because people will respect something that they give value to. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome in my life. And what I learned from this, Richard, is that whenever one serves their ego or operate from the wrong motivation, life eventually will slap you. And from that healing, from that nervous breakdown, I realized that I surrender my life to something greater than myself And that from that point on, my life has been pure synchronicity, flow, grace, serendipity, you name it. One instance is, and when you asked me about my curriculum vitae and you saw something about Zitschi.com, and I said, no, we didn't do that. It was a failed venture. What happened is, when I decided that I was done with Masterpiece Training Camp, the 6-day intensive training that we did for 12 years, or maybe it was 12 or 14 years, I can't remember. A lot of my senior staff said, you can't let that die. You have to keep doing it. But I was done with it. And they kind of pushed me to restart it. And for 2 years, I pushed instead of being pulled, because I had stopped listening to my inner voice inside, to my spirit, to my soul, to my heart. So that's the second instance in which I experienced really hardship, really difficult 2 years, pushing against constant resistance, difficulties. And then when I decided, you know what, it's not going to happen. We can't make it happen. It's done. The camp is done. It has done its purpose. We're done. I'm moving on with my life. Immediately my life came back to being totally ease, flow, and I feel inspired and pulled forwards rather than having to push. So those are the difficult turning point of my life.
Wow, thank you for sharing such authenticity, I guess, such honesty about things that you have overcome in your life. There's so many lessons in there, but I think I can't really add to the way that you so eloquently stated those lessons.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Well, let's talk about some of the things, components of success. Are there any daily habits or rituals, affirmations, things you do every day when you get up to help set the tone for that day and that week in your life?
Absolutely. So, my wife will tell you, I'm like a monk. I get up. Obviously, I do body function business, but then I work out for a full hour. And I shouldn't say workout. I train, which is very different. I train for a full hour. That is my personal time, my meditation. I read positive books. When I was in practice full-time, I'm still in practice now part-time, very part-time actually, because of my involvement in public speaking and seminars, and in the profession I have so many things going on. But when I was in full-time practice, I would go to my office at minimum 45 minutes early before we open, and I would read positive books, get myself centered, discipline, meditation. I honor myself. I live in integrity and by example. I'm not going to tell people this profession is about life and health and abuse my body. So I respect my body, and I don't want it to sound like, oh my God, this guy doesn't do anything. No, I can go socially and have a drink, but I don't get drunk. I don't eat junk food. I don't drink soda. I have a very clean lifestyle. I don't watch mainstream TV. I watch Netflix, mostly documentary, to learn something. I watch what I feed my brain with. I watch the people that I'm around with. Is this a toxic relationship, toxic energy? Or is it something that is positive and congruent with my being and my vision for life? So I have a very strong discipline. And the people that have trained with me over the years know the reality and the authenticity of this. That it's not like, oh, this guy is saying this, but he's not doing it. No. When they watch me physically and they see what I can do, they know, yeah, this guy is trained. So I believe in living by example. So that's my thing. And I don't know if you know that, but once I moved to Colorado out of Pennsylvania where I was practicing, I practice part-time here, but I practice in near total silence. And yet, people come to me regularly. I have had people that have been with me now 16 years. Not because they have symptoms. So what is it that they got through the field, through osmosis, from my being, What is it that I emanate out of my being that causes them to want that? So I'm not saying people should practice in silence, but I know another chiropractor that was in Nice, France, that practiced in silence, had a booming practice. And I know another chiropractor in Lake Saint-Jean, Quebec, that practiced in silence, has a booming practice. I think when we're congruent with ourselves, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and we are aligned with our philosophy, I think people know it. And they want to be around you. And the little that you share with them at the beginning is enough. And what they pick up by being in the waiting room with other people and seeing that children are being adjusted, they pick it up. And as a result, the message is being conveyed without having to be fanatical or dogmatic or what I would call, quote, Bible banging chiropractic. So that's pretty much my routine. That's what I do.
I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Did you say you are practicing in silence? You are not speaking to them as you adjust?
No, basically they come in, I say, good Richard, great to see you. I check them, adjust them, push check them. I'm done. See you next week. I don't talk. I stay in complete silence, centered within myself.
All right.
And I let them have an experience on the table. I want them to have the experience and not distract them from what takes place in their system, in their neurology, energetically in them while they're being adjusted. That to me is very important.
Yeah, I've not heard of that before, but it makes sense to me, especially the mind-body connection. While that change is happening in their body, you can be much more aware of it in silence when that's taking place. So
that's correct. And by the way, Richard, have you ever had massage? Did you ever go to a massage therapist?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you ever been to a massage therapist that talks the entire time to you?
I have one time, and then another one I had where they didn't speak at all.
Correct. And what's the difference in your experience?
Yeah, it was a big difference. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to lay there and enjoy every moment of it.
Exactly.
Well, we are getting near the end of this interview. I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us, but I do have a few final thoughts before you go.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite book you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
You know, when I knew that you were going to ask me that question, I thought hard because I have an enormous reading list that I'd be more than welcome to send over to you. And if there is a way for you to send it to your listener, to your constituency, I would love to do that. So it was very hard for me to decide which one is my favorite book. Is it, autobiography of a yogi? Is it the universal one by Peter Russell, who wrote the book The Secret of Life? But after I thought hard on it, I decided Fame and Fortune, which is a small book by B.J. Palmer. I've read that book so many times, and as I travel, I keep underlying it, and then when I get someplace, I give it to one of my staff, I give it to a student, I give it to a chiropractor, and I buy another one. At first, it's like, interesting, yeah, cool. But the more one dive into that book, the depth of understanding that BJ conveys about his life, about being innate driven, and about the philosophy is absolutely astonishing. But it takes, 10, 20, 30 reading to really understand the depths of what he's talking about. Even though the message is simple, it's not like on the first read, it's not like, it was complex, I didn't get it. No, you can get it on the first read, but you won't get the depth and the potency of the message. So that's my favorite book.
Well, we will link to that on our show notes page. And yeah, by all means, go ahead and forward me your list, and we will put a link to all of those books in the show notes on our website.
Great.
Well, from a business standpoint, what is the best advice you've ever received?
I mean, Richard, I know nothing about business. Nothing. To me, it's very simple. I have a service. So to me, the way that I run my office, it was simple. People come in, they sit. When an adjusting room is available or a table is available, they go there, pre-check, adjustment, post-check. They go back to the front desk. What do? They pay, and they take another appointment. So I don't see that as a difficult business. To me, if I was selling a box of chocolate, they came in, they sat in the waiting room, they got to the place where they buy the box of chocolate, they came to the register, they pay for it, and because they like chocolate, they made another appointment to come back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever the schedule is. So I didn't see that it was difficult. And what I see the most in our profession is people that have 5, 6, 7 CAs, and they see 20 people a day. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? They have huge overhead. If there is one advice that I learned on my own, have a very low overhead and maximum return. And obviously, I have all cash. So, some people can say, well, you can't do it cash. Well, no, it can be done cash. But I didn't want to compromise with insurance. I feel that it robs our soul. We compromise our profession, and we lay the foundation for the establishment to define our profession. And I don't want to be part of it. So, my advice from business, from somebody that knows nothing about business, low overhead, high return, and make it simple. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I'll say one more thing, Richard, because that comes to my mind as you ask that question. Over the years, and I've dealt with thousands of chiropractors, and I've trained hundreds of chiropractors very personally, I can tell you that the more lost a chiropractor is, the more procedures, paperwork, and step that person will have until they actually deliver the service. The more clear a chiropractor is, the less steps there is, and the less paperwork. They don't have to have a show. They don't have to create a protocol. They can go right to it. Big difference.
Low overhead and keep it simple. I love both of those.
Absolutely.
From someone who's saying they don't have any business skills, that's certainly a wonderful answer and great advice.
You're sweet.
Well, what's the best way for people to contact you and find out more about you and the things you do?
Okay, very simple. MLS Seminars, which is Mastery, Love, and Service, seminars with an S.com. There is a program that I do once a year called Tick-It. It's listed on that website. Obviously, MLS Adjusting Seminar are listed there. And then I created a model of practice years ago called Café of Life. So there is a website called cafeoflife.com. And it really lay down the simplicity of that model, but what it takes, because sometimes people think simple is easy. Complicated is easy. Simple is very challenging. So when they go to that website, they will see how simple it appears. And if they click on individual practitioner, they will see people that are absolutely congruent with that model and people that unfortunately have deviated from that model. But that's human nature. I'm not here to police or control other people. I have given them the model, the paradigm, and trained many of them, not all of them. And then they engage in that paradigm. And some people have been very loyal to that paradigm, and other people have deviated slightly. But overall, it will give them an understanding of the type of chiropractic that I'm talking about, which I believe is a type of chiropractic that people were practicing in the 50s and 60s and 40s, which is simple, humanitarian, totally dedicated to their client, to their patient, and serving a principle, not serving themselves. So that's where they can reach me, mlsseminars.com, cafeoflife.com, and my own email, which is arno@fone.net, phone.net spelled with an F.
Well, Dr. Arno Burnier, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I've thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and I wish you the best in life.
Thank you so much, Richard. I really appreciate you inviting me, and I appreciate what you're doing for the profession. It's greatly needed, so it's wonderful, and I'm very grateful.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.